Hey everybody, welcome back to Broku no Hero. Today I want to talk about My Hero Academia once again, and I wanted to talk about something that had to go along the lines of Deku's percentages with One for All, and comparing that to All Might's percentages with One for All. I think that just because percentages are of One for All, that does not mean that Deku is actually as strong as All Might when he uses those percentages. And I have evidence behind my claims showing that, yeah, this isn't the case. Because a lot of people think when Deku punches with 100% of his power that means that, well, he is stronger or as strong as All Might. So I'm going to go through that in this video, guys, and if you do end up enjoying it, please do leave a like and comment and subscribe, and also turn on notifications so you're notified every time I upload. So we're going to talk about One for All. One for All is basically two quirks that were merged together. One of it stores power, and the other is letting it being passed down to other users of the quirk. And based on what we know so far, with each passing of the torch of One for All, it gets stronger and stronger because the power cultivates. So technically this should mean that whatever percentage of power of One for All that Deku uses, that means that that percentage would be stronger than what All Might uses. So if Deku is using 100%, that would actually be stronger than All Might's 100%. But the difference here, though, is it is logical to assume that One for All is basically a multiplier on top of a person's physical strength. Now, this is because All Might was able to use 100% of One for All from the get-go. Meanwhile, Deku couldn't, and it took him a while to even be able to use 5% of One for All. And now, how I know that 100% Deku is not equivalent to 100% All Might is because, well, it's pretty early on in the series when Deku is trying to save his friends and there's the Nomu right in front of him. And Deku punches Nomu with the power of All Might's punch and it does nothing to him. But when All Might fights Nomu, he is having a much better time with his punches and Nomu is ready and on guard for those attacks. So this already puts All Might's 100% above Deku's 100%, which, if you think about it, Deku's 100% is supposed to be stronger than All Might's 100% because it gets stronger with each passing of the torch. Now, one way I think that this is how this works is like it's a multiplier, not exactly like Super Saiyan, but kind of similar. Like One for All is gonna multiply your power of your actual regular stats. And because of that, Deku being physically weak, that's why All Might is stronger than Deku. Because, like I said, there's really no way that All Might should be stronger than Deku with 100% if Deku's using a more powerful version of the 100%. So I think the way to explain it is Deku is weaker physically, and so the power being multiplied, while the multiplication of the power is stronger, it's multiplying the power of a weaker base. Now, you would also have to argue that Deku is now faster than All Might, because it is stated by All Might that he only moves with 20% of One for All, or else he would cause massive destruction around the city. And do you really think that Deku, with 20% of his power, was faster than what All Might was? If Deku was with 20% of One for All was already faster than All Might and already can use 20% for his attacks, he would, I think, be a lot stronger and get a lot more recognition than he does already. So while I think that when Deku uses 20% of One for All, it does multiply his power or increase his power more than if All Might used 20%, but since Deku's base is weaker, he isn't as strong. And this is partially shown when All Might is suppressed and is weighted, but takes on 8% Deku and Bakugo at the same time. Now, All Might would be using 20% of One for All while being weighted, and actually he could be even using less than 20%, because like I said, he barely ever moves with more than 20%, so we could say 20% or less of All Might, while being weighted, fought an 8% Deku and Bakugo, and they are equivalent, and so this isn't an 8% of One For All equivalent to All Might, as Deku's One For All would be stronger. I think that this fight would be a lot closer if the percentages were actually equal to each other. If when Deku uses One For All at the same percentage, then he's equal to All Might. So imagine if All Might at 8% teamed up with Deku, fought a suppressed and weaker All Might with weights, it would be a lot closer of a fight. Now, it is kind of confusing to talk about all this, because we're talking about percentages, we're talking about different characters, but it would make sense. Deku is still training his body physically. It still shows him, lifting weights occasionally and training. So I think not only is Deku getting more percentage-wise, he's at 20% now, but he is also getting physically stronger. So if you compare Deku at 5% in the beginning of when he first is able to start learning his power, compared to Deku in the manga where he has 20%, well, it's not just a 4 times increase, because I believe Deku is also getting physically stronger, so it could be even more than a 4 times increase. Now, there are other points of evidence showing how Deku is not on par with All Might. If 100% of Deku was equal to 100% of All Might, then I honestly think that Muscular would have been absolutely demolished by Deku, because remember, he had to go beyond 100% to do it. He didn't actually use 1,000,000%. The author even said that it was not him using a 1,000,000%. It was just his emotional battle, so he just screamed 1,000,000%. Of course, it would be above 100% of his power, and he was able to defeat Muscular with that. But honestly, if his previous 100% punches weren't doing anything to Muscular, do you really think that All Might's 100% would be doing that same amount of damage? Or less than that? I don't agree with that. So right now, I am saying that Deku's percentages are not equal to All Might's, because I like to do some power scaling in Black Clover, and people are talking about Deku versus Asta, which I don't know if I really like as an actual versus battle, because it's not really that close. So they're saying, oh, well, look how strong All Might is, and look at the Deku's percentages. Well, it isn't that logical to compare their percentages, because Deku's starting power is weaker. Yeah, I don't agree with that logic. It doesn't equal. If it did equal, then 100% of Deku's punch against Nomu would have done way more than what All Might's 100% punches were doing. Remember, 100% Deku punches Nomu, it does nothing. All Might punches an on-guard Nomu, and it actually knocks him back and does stuff. So, it is definitely a different level of power. But that's just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm not an expert on My Hero Academia. I do like it. I'm currently going through my manga reread of it so I can get caught back up onto it and get more video ideas from rereading the manga. But I just don't think that the comparing percentages is exactly logical when All Might is probably way stronger than Deku. But overall, that is my thoughts, guys. Please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and also turn on notifications to be notified every time I upload a video. Plus,